Hey, we're back. This is John.
It's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And we are What If Geeks again, still, always, and forever. We are here. We skipped a week, so sorry. Not that all three of you noticed. But we missed a week there. We were a little bit busy, so we're going to back-to-back drop reviews for the last two episodes of Falcon Winter Soldier. So, without further ado, we are on episode 5, The Truth. So what I got here is, and then Eric, you can kind of like chime in and take over whenever I stutter. We open up on Walker running away from what just happened at the end of episode 4, which was him violently killing one of the flag smashers. He ducks into a warehouse, and you can just see like his mind is just snapping. You know, he's like going over in his head, talking to Lamar and everything that Lamar said to him about, like, you know, his position means something, and you can see him thinking about how he got killed and then the end of the last episode, and then he screams out why, and he kneels down with the shield, and you know, real good shot of him in the one little bit of light, just sitting there with the shield in front of him, and then it pans back to Falcon and Bucky entering the warehouse, and Walker raises his head and mutters, "Time to go to work." So I was like, oh, here we go. So, you know, they come down, try to, you know, talk to him. And he says, look, you saw what happened. I did what I had to do. He killed Lamar. And Bucky tells him he didn't kill Lamar because it was actually Carly, as we saw. So he chased the wrong guy. Basically, they tell him, like, you know, look, you just got to hope they take your record into consideration. You know, things look bad right now. And then Sam tells him, because he's thinking about it, and then Sam tells him, you got to give me the shield. And Walker looks at him and smirks, and he's like, so that's what this is all about. Now, he thinks they're just there to take Cap's shield back from him. So he tells him, you don't want to do this. And that's when Bucky finally chimes back in and goes, yeah, we do. And then all hell breaks loose. All three of them start fighting each other. And it's a really cool choreographed fight between the three of them. With, like, I don't know who throws the first punch, but there's a lot of, you know, Bucky.
Who shot first?
Yeah, who shot first? Han shot. You know, Bucky and Walker going at each other. There's a spot there where he knocks Bucky to the ground and like kind of slams him with his whole body weight onto his arm, and you see his arm spark. But apparently that's not like, I guess it's self-repairing because it's fine 2 seconds later. You know, so whatever it is, it's cool. But what else we got? I know Sam gets into it with him a little bit. They go back and forth. He's fighting both of them.
Yeah.
So what did you guys see?
You know, it's interesting that they started the episode with this, right? Because this series has kind of felt like this point, like it was leading up to that ultimate fight between them, and here you are, an episode before the end, literally the opening scene, and that fight's over.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a I guess it's a decent decently choreographed fight. It's a good one, but that pretty much ends the action for this episode. The rest of it is all plot building and storyline for the most part.
Yeah, it does. And there's a key spot in here where every time Walker gets one of them down, he's very vicious in his fights, right? Which is something that we talked about before. It's how the serum affects everybody differently, and there's never been another Steve Rogers. And we've seen that with him time and again, at least since he's taken the serum, right? But every time he gets one of them down, he's going for like a killing blow. Like he's trying to end the fight permanently. And when he goes up to Sam, he starts at the end of the fight, he's choking him out, and he says, "I am Captain America." And you can see Sam's pissed, but he's like choking to death, trying to fight him off of him. And he tries to fly, and that's when Walker grabs one of the wings and rips it.
Snaps the wings off.
Snaps the wings off.
And then at some point, through a combination of like Sam using the jetpack and Bucky and something else. I mean, they just snap Walker's arm.
Which was very akin to Infinity War with the gauntlet. With Thanos, with all of them trying to get it off. They were trying to get the shield off his arm. And, like Bucky was trying to hold his arm back and pull the shield. And then Sam grabbed the shield and used the jetpack, and then his arm breaks.
Yeah, after his arm snaps back. And, and they take the shield, and they sort of, they leave him there, and they walk out, right? Bloody shield, the whole deal.
Bucky picks up the shield after they knock him out with it.
Right.
And he drops it next to Sam. Like, this is yours. And he walks out.
Yeah, it was more than this is yours. I mean, it was almost like none of this bullshit would have happened if you would have just taken the shield in the first place, right?
That was the look on his face, yeah. Because there is a really cool shot of when Bucky picks up the shield after they knock out Walker. He's in the sunlight, so it's like he's got Steve's legacy in his arms, you know. And then he walks the shield over to Sam, and like you said, drops it next to him, like, "This is all your fault, motherfucker."
Yeah, basically.
And you can see like the realization kind of comes on Sam because the first thing he does is he picks it up and he cradles it in his arms. He tries to wipe the blood off, like he's trying to get this tarnish off of Steve's legacy, you know, which was cool. You know, a lot of some symbology, symbolic shit,
symbolism.
Symbolism. Thanks. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Numerology, astrology, one of them damn things.
All the ologies.
There was a whole bunch of ologies in these shows. But so it was really cool. Very symbolic of him trying to put back right what would be Steve's legacy.
Yeah, and he couldn't, right? He was smearing the blood around pretty much.
Yeah. It was almost like it was not going to come off. So then we cut to the two of them talking about how the Flag Smashers are in the wind now.
Yeah, so both Flag Smashers and Zemo, but they're trying to hunt down Carly specifically, and they can't find her anywhere. She's totally lost, and I think this is the point where Torres comes back, right?
Yeah.
And so perhaps, the dialogue in this scene is really not all that important, but I think the end of it is really where it's at because it's sort of foreshadowing for, Torres taking the helm, well, not taking the helm, but taking the Falcon persona on in the comics, right? After Sam becomes Captain America.
Right.
And so at the end of this scene, he's got the broken wings laying on the table. At the end of the scene, Sam's walking off and Torres is like, "Hey, you forgot the wings." He's like, "You can keep them."
Yeah, he says keep them.
No.
So that's definitely going to be foreshadowing for Torres, yeah.
I think so, yeah. I mean, especially, next episode. I'm going to get ahead of myself. So I think after that we get the court-martial scene for John Walker. It's interesting that I know that probably the pandemic had a lot of impact on how much they could go around and film in different spots and stuff, but I feel like this courtroom is overly used in the next two episodes. Yeah. Like it's used for everything. So anyway, he's getting his court-martial in here and sort of in front of this public panel, and it's actually kind of annoying, but I mean that they're doing it this way and like some sort of weird, like there's one government official, maybe some military people up there or whatever.
It's somewhere between like a city council. It looks sort of like a city council meeting / court.
Yeah, but the flags in the background are the armed forces flags, except for the Marines, I think.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a court-martial hearing, right?
Right.
But this is not how court-martial hearings work.
No, not at all.
It's more like a congressional panel or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his girlfriend wouldn't be there.
Yeah, right. There's people just spectating. A lot of random guys in suits in the back.
It's like when city council does a work session on like, are we going to build a new park? And they have all the people from the town come in to speak. Like that's what that looked like.
Yeah, and unlike a real court-martial, there's no trial here. It doesn't seem like they're just like, yeah, you're being court-martialed other than honorable discharge. Basically, you're
tarnished. Lucky you're not getting locked up.
Yeah, you've tarnished America. You've tarnished Captain America.
Well, and they say specifically, like, you're not gonna, you're no longer Captain America, and a key point here is the speech that he gives them is it kind of harkens. It also harkens back to Isaiah Bradley, because he tells them, "You built me.
Right.
I did what you made me to do," and that's exactly what Isaiah did. Isaiah got locked up, which again we can go down that rabbit hole of Pandora's box, but we're not going to. But he got locked up for it so that they could experiment on him. Where now Walker, they're going to let him off on an other than honorable discharge, and he's like, just like Sam said, due to your record, you're lucky that's all you're getting. But he tells him, like, you made me what I am, and I only did whatever you told me to do. And then he says, I am Captain America. And he just, like, they keep talking to him, and he turns around and walks out. Which, again, probably wouldn't have happened in the real world, but hey,
Yeah.
I guess who the hell in that room is really going to stop him, even with one busted wing? He is a super soldier now, so.
Yeah, but he doesn't heal very quickly, right? Because his arm's still in a sling.
Yeah, he does have his arm in a sling, yeah.
Yeah. It takes at least a day. I don't know. Sure. Again, this is a new version of the serum, too, so who knows?
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he walks out, and that's when we cut to right outside?
Yeah, he's sitting outside talking to his girlfriend or wife, whatever the hell she is.
Yeah, whoever she is.
And then you get a...
She tells him it's going to be okay, but it ain't going to be okay. But okay, yeah, and then you get your cameo, which we've been talking about, how they said there was going to be a really big cameo, a well-known actor, yada yada, right, in this episode.
Yada yada.
And it's
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, yada yada. No, that was a happy little accident. Just call me Bob Ross. So it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that right. Okay, I had to double check myself.
Yeah, that's right. So she's playing Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, a.k.a. who will become Madame Hydra, or who will be later.
Well, she is Agent 14 in S.H.I.E.L.D. She's close with Nick Fury, which is that's where I kind of wanted to like pause our review and discuss what they're doing with this character. Because here she comes in and basically... I was like, okay, so this is this major cameo that we're getting. I assumed there was going to be another one because they were like, remember when they said there would be like a grounded character that they'd like to see next to Thor? I was like, I don't see how this is going to be it, but who knows what they're doing. But when she comes in, the way she plays this character, she's kind of very aloof, and ignores Walker's wife at first or whatever. And like sits right in between the two of them and starts talking directly to Walker, like tells him how you did the right thing taking that serum. Yeah, I know about that. And like, just like filling his head with, look, you made yourself very marketable. People, powerful people are interested in you, yada yada, whatever. So who she's talking about? At first, I was thinking Power Broker, but then I started thinking about more of that later, and we can discuss it. But in the comics, Valentina is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that worked with Nick Fury. And then, yes, she did become Madame Hydra, but that was a very brief spot, and she was doing it to infiltrate Hydra, much like in the MCU, Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. Now... could they just be doing their own thing with it and making her Madame Hydra anyway? Maybe. What do you guys think?
I think they're probably mixing up storylines. I think what you alluded to, was it last episode or maybe the one before? We were talking about Zemo and Thunderbolts. It seems like they're leading into she's going to create her own superhero team, I think, and whether that is done with Zemo's help and that's the Thunderbolts, or maybe it's some sort of Dark Avengers thing. There's something like that she's leading towards, right? And
that's what I was going to get into, because if you take a really good look at her, if you notice she had a purple streak in her hair.
Didn't notice that.
Yep, there's another character in the comics, and I think she's like Agent I don't know, whatever. I keep wanting to say Agent Brand, but that's not right. But there's another agent that works in an offshoot of Shield, or in an offshoot of the government, real hush hush, and she's got that same kind of purplish streaks throughout her hair or whatever. She works with the part of the government that forms the Thunderbolts. And with Zemo being at the raft is controlled by General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who does in the comics form his own team of Thunderbolts as well. And he's in the credits of this episode as a part of like the whole, when they drop the little things in the credits. There's one flash there with a bunch of typing, and his name is in there, Thaddeus Ross, aligned with whatever superhuman act or whatever. So, yeah, I think she's probably working for him and getting ready to set up the Thunderbolts. What do you guys think?
I think that's a good bet. It might be a little bit different of a team than in the comics, but I really think, yeah, that's where it's headed.
It feels more like, instead of being, because I feel the Thunderbolts are more bad guys disguised as good guys.
Yeah.
This is going to be more sort of, you'll have Captain America and potentially Bucky to do sort of official stuff, and you'll have this group, U.S. agent, whoever else she brings on, to do sort of the really, the really dirty stuff, right? Like, stuff that can't be official.
Essentially their own Suicide Squad.
Right.
Now, whether or not you make that a movie or a series, I would make it a movie and then a series. I think that would be cool. Do a big movie, introduce, bringing them all together a la Suicide Squad. But you probably got to wait a little bit because Suicide Squad's about to come out. And, well, I guess you just get James Gunn to hem that one. And then it'd be the same fucking movie with different characters. But, yeah, I think you do a movie and then a series with them. That'd be cool. So, all right. So, moving on from there, where we go?
Flag Smashers are back at some safe house area, and the place is empty. It's all destroyed. Some sort of notice on the wall they look at, and it seems like the government has accused them of aiding and abetting the Flag Smashers, the people that were living there. The GRC encampment or whatever the hell it was. And so, they raided the place and took them all custody. And this is sort of the moment where Carly tells them, they're never going to stop unless we do something. I think she says the movement's ready or something, or it's time for the movement or something to that effect.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
she's definitely gone she's gone over the edge now. So
yeah. Then we get a cut to a scene of Zemo staring at a statue, and Bucky walks up, and he's like, I was wondering what it took you so long to find me.
There's a key to that. It's the Sokovia Memorial.
Right.
And
he alluded to it a couple episodes ago.
Yes, he asked him. Yeah. So, and when Bucky leaves Sam with Torres, Sam asks him, "You going after after Zemo?" And Bucky just looks at him and walks out. So, yeah. So he shows up to go get him.
Yeah, they're having a little combo. Zemo basically tells him there's really only one way you can stop Carly. He's basically saying you have to kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really no choice. Of course, Bucky doesn't want to do that, right? But is this the part? Yeah. So this is the part where the camera cuts down and you see that Bucky is holding a gun, and he cocks it, and he points it at Zemo. No, he points it at Zemo and then he cocks it.
Yep.
And Zemo's just sort of staring at him for a minute, looking down the barrel. But of course, he clicks it, doesn't fire.
And that's where you get that other shot from the trailer where he holds out his other hand and drops all the rounds that should have been in the gun.
Yeah.
Going back to his no killing rule number 2 or whatever the hell it was.
Yep. So, I mean, he's he's completed his cycle, right? He's turned himself over. He's done with the old Winter Soldier, right? That's it. It's finally out of him. They've been working towards that, like the whole sort of mini series, but I think that was supposed to be the culmination of that moment. Like, I'm done with it. It's over.
Yeah, that was again more symbology.
Yeah. And then I think a few seconds after he drops those bullets,
Domology.
Yeah, Dormlodge show up to take Zemo away.
Yep. And they say they're going to bring him to the raft.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty significant. So instead of taking him back to Wakanda, they're taking him to the raft, which I think came from, was that from Civil War? Or was that from Winter Soldier?
Civil War.
That's
where all the Avengers, all the captured Avengers were.
Yeah, so...
Which is run by who?
Yeah, that's a I was going to get right back to that because I'm pretty sure that whether he does it or Val does it or maybe never mind. Don't want to say that out loud. There's definitely a team getting recruited out of Raft, I think, for whatever that counter hero team happens to be moving forward.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
Mephisto. Well, I think maybe the senator is Mephisto, John.
There you go. That'll work. Got to work him in every episode now.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
I think next we go. Sam goes back to Baltimore to see Isaiah, and he happens to run into Elijah along the way, which didn't need to happen, and it's like they're just putting it in your face one more time so you don't forget about it, right? Like he's just randomly playing basketball in the street and Sam walks by or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, going to see your grandfather. Like, okay, that seems really unnecessary. But obviously they're cluing you in again to another new Avenger sort of thing.
Yep.
So I guess he goes to have a conversation with Isaiah. I mean, the gist of this combo is basically, I'm going to try to make this right, and make the world know about you, which in the comics is what Steve Rogers did.
Yeah.
But here, I guess you can't. They already, Steve Rogers on the moon.
yeah.
But it's funny because there's a line in this part that sort of made me a little nervous that they were going to go a different direction and that Sam would never pick up the shield because Isaiah says to him, a black man will never take up the shield. Right. Okay, fine. Fine.
They'll never let a black
man be Captain America. Right.
Yeah. And then the second part of it, though, is even if they did or whatever, no self-respecting black man would do it, right? I'm thinking, fuck, like they're not going to let him take the shield up.
Yeah, I really thought I was a little nervous. I thought they were going to go away to that side of things with it, but there is also a key moment there too, where Sam's got the shield with him in the case that Steve gave him, and he goes to take it out, and Isaiah's like, "No, leave it in there. I don't need to see it." He's like, because for him, it's just full of pain, so he doesn't want to see it.
Well, it's interesting that there's been a couple times now that different characters have said what that shield represents to them as pain, right? Yeah. Carly said it a couple episodes ago about it representing kind of a dying ideal, and now Isaiah looks at it and sees something different too. He sees pain as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what he says. He says something to the effect of, the whole world's been chasing that great white hope since Steve showed up with the serum or whatever the hell it was. But
yeah, that was.
And he said something about no blonde hair, no blue. Isaiah says
blonde hair, blue
eyes, which gets repeated later.
Yeah, Sam will echo later. Yeah, I think that's the next episode though, isn't it?
Yeah. We're prefacing. So he basically he tells Sam. They will never let a black man be Captain America, and no self-respecting man would ever want to be. Right. No self-respecting black man would ever want to be. So it was, gives Sam something to think about, right? What is he going to do? Because on the one hand, you've got all of that, which is not untrue for what has been going on. But on the flip side of that, he knows what Steve Rogers represented, and what he was very close with Steve, so he knows Steve's ideals. He knows Steve wasn't like that, right? He believed in the true America, which is what he wants to try to represent.
The idea of America, right?
Yeah, the idea of America. And there's another Pandora's box we're not going to get into, but we all know what it is from the comic standpoint. Okay. So yeah, where does it go from here?
Well, he actually, but Isaiah does give him like the whole backstory at this point too, while they're sitting down in his house about, you know,
His wife.
They did this, and they did this whole thing about, you know, like they're suggesting that the Tuskegee experiments were about the serum, and you know, basically,
that's where because this is where he tells his story, right? Where he saved the other guys, because they made a bunch of them take the serum, and a few of them, he was the last one that didn't get stuck behind enemy lines. So they told him, he overheard them saying they were going to bomb the place and get rid of all the evidence.
Right.
But he said, but those are my brothers. Couldn't let that happen. So he took the shield and he snuck over there and saved them. And he said, what did I get for it? I got sent away for 30 years, which is another interesting parallel to Captain America, the First Avenger. Steve Rogers did the same thing, went and saved the soldiers that were stuck in a POW camp and came back to a hero's welcome. So, definitely the racial divide and everything is there, so and it's everything that he's explaining to Sam, like, this is why this is not going to happen for you. And he says in the jail he got experimented on, and he lifted his shirt and showed his scars and everything from when they cut him apart. And then he explains to Sam, because Sam says, I want everybody to know what happened to you, so that you get the respect you deserve. And he said, no, a kind nurse took pity on me, basically, did up some papers and had me declared dead and snuck me out of there. It's best for everybody if Isaiah Bradley stays dead. And that's pretty much where, we wrap things up.
Yep.
Right.
And then right after he leaves the house, Sam calls up Sarah and says, "Hey, I'm coming home." It's kind of like it's kind of like he gave up and he's just ready to call it quits or something. Go back to shrimp boating or whatever he's doing there.
Yeah, he's got a lot to think about.
Popcorn shrimp. Popcorn shrimp. And then, so when he gets home, this is when Bucky shows up, right?
Yeah.
He's going to start working on the boat, and he tells Sarah, "Look, you remember how Mom and Dad always looked out for the whole town and yada yada, whatever." And he says, maybe it's time to call in a few favors. And he starts his little montage of him making phone calls around the town. Hey, so-and-so son, you remember me? And whatever. And they all start kind of coming in and chipping in money to help them repair this boat to sell it. And that's when the guys come in. They show up on the dock with a pickup truck with a new motor for the boat. And that's the one, like, he didn't expect that. But he's like, that's awesome. How are we going to get off this pickup truck? And while he and his neighbors are standing there talking, the thing just lifts up into the air and moves away. And then you see Bucky just carrying it over his shoulder, puts it on the boat, and it looks back. You're welcome. Which I thought was really funny. You got all these guys sitting there trying to figure out how the fuck they're going to do it. And here comes the super soldier buddy out of nowhere.
Yep.
So he's there to help.
The one thing that really confuses me about this whole thing, and I get they're doing it for story related reasons, but you're fucking telling me that Sam doesn't have any fucking money. He has to go borrow a few bucks from neighbors and shit to fix up a boat.
Yeah, after everything he's been doing with the Avengers, you would have thought.
He has a multi-million-dollar suit, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, and I know we've established that Stark funded everything, but you would have thought somehow, some way, they have living expenses. They got, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, was it episode 1 or 2 talks when he goes to the bank and tries to get the loan, and because he doesn't have any money, and the loan officer asks him, like, how did that work? Did Stark pay you? Was there some deal?
And they never really touch on it. They just. Yeah. So I think you just left to assume that, because we had this conversation where the Fantastic Four own patents in the comics or whatever. So yeah, Stark, I guess, funded everything, but he didn't get. I don't know. I guess they had no spending money of their own. Everything was a Stark Tower. That was it.
Like not even $10, man. Like nothing.
yeah. The guy's got nothing.
This is also the scene which becomes relevant later, where Bucky brings that silver and black case in and says, "Oh, I called in a favor from the Wakandans," but he doesn't open it. He doesn't open it at this point.
He sits in front of Sam, and Sam stares at it. And the other key there is Sam's sister shows up, and she looks at Bucky after he drops the whole motor off on the boat. And she's like, "Hi, I'm Sarah." And he's like, "Bucky," and smiles at her. And Sam just looks at him like, motherfucker. So that was funny. Oh, so yeah, then they start carrying the boat, right?
Yeah.
They get the boat fixed, and then they start to have a conversation too around Bucky and his book, and he's got to go do the work.
That's after the boat when they're with the shield. Yeah.
After they get the boat fixed, and they hang out a little, and then something happens. Bucky says something about, at some point they're going to have to go after them, or something like that. And then I think they have the conversation about what Bucky needs to do, and then Sam starts sort of practicing with the shield.
Yeah. And the key to that, I think, this entire scene is, obviously, we started out with this whole series, like we talked about, where this is like your basic buddy cop thing where they don't like each other and they grow to like each other. They come together because of Steve, and then they grow to at least respect each other. Yeah. And they won't, neither one will admit they actually like each other, but you can tell Bucky shows up when he knows Sam needs him to fix the boat, and he's there helping. And there's all those little montages there where Sam's struggling to do whatever, and Bucky just walks over with his fucking super soldier strength and rips the thing off, or helps him turn something, and whatever. Like little inside jokes like that are funny, but also you see where they're bonding, And I love that line of Bucky was doing something. He was tightening some shit down. And Sam was like, "Why didn't you use the cybernetic arm?" And he goes, "I don't always think of it. I'm right-handed." I was like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
But so then that's when they start like messing around with the shield in the yard, bouncing it off of the pads on the trees. And Sam tells him, it's not enough to say you're sorry. You actually have to be there for these people,
right,
and do something for them. So.
Yeah, he's like, it's going to be hard, but you have to do it. You have to put in the work. And so Bucky just kind of, all right, and takes off. And then there's a training montage of Sam throwing the shield, trying to catch it, missing it, getting hit by it, trying to do the, catch as you flip, missing it, just sort of working on being able to throw it, bounce it 2 and 3 times, catch it, do all that whole thing.
And there's a key there, too. As Bucky leaves, he tells him, which is like the final bonding moment, he tells him as he's leaving, when you find out where they're at, call me. I'll be there.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. So there's that montage of Sam. And then he goes running around the yard, and his nephews say him, on the yard, "Uncle Sam," which I thought was kind of funny. America. But they kind of they go running after him, much like he was always trying to keep up with Steve, which is kind of funny, you know. And so you can tell he's getting better and better with the shield. And what do we do then?
You skipped over one part that's got some relevance to it. It's a quick scene of Sharon Carter, and she's on the phone talking to somebody in French. And if you watch with subtitles like I do, it says Batroc speaking in French at the bottom of it. But you know, they're leading into something which, can't spoil. But you know, she's telling Batroc she got him out of jail, and he owes her, she needs him. That's basically what it is. And then they cut away. Yeah. Then the whole shield thing you guys were talking about happens. But I think after the shield scene,
I think we go to the GRC meeting, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah. I think it goes to the GRC meeting in New York, where they're coming together on the big vote about repatriation, and everyone gathers in the room. And as they're preparing to vote, the Flag Smashers have a couple guys in the room. They lock the doors. Screens go all haywire, and
all the red lights come on.
Yeah. Right, and that they're about to get kidnapped. Something's about to happen, and so.
Oh wait, sorry. One more thing we skipped because it relates back to the Sharon Carter thing. Georges Batroc shows up in the park and gives the Flag Smashers a case of whatever it was, weapons, explosives, whatever. So you know that Sharon sent him to give the Flag Smashers that stuff.
Yeah.
And then the scene you were talking about.
Yeah, and he says, Batroc says, "I just want to kill the Falcon."
Yeah, and she says, "You'll get your chance."
Yep, and I think after the screens go haywire and the room turns red, the red lights come on.
Then we get the final closing scene.
Snap back to Sam in front of the giant Wakanda case, opens it, and it's you don't know what.
It's a Pulp Fiction moment.
yeah, exactly. Someone's soul.
Is that what I think it is? And then that's it, right? We got the black.
Yep.
The end scene. And
that's credit.
And there was no after credits on this one, right?
No.
I don't think so.
No post credit scene.
All right. So no spoilers for the next episode, but what did you guys think of this one?
Oh shit, I'm wrong. There is a post credit scene on this one.
Oh.
It's the one where Walker is fashioning his own shield.
Oh, right.
Yes, that's right. Much like Tony Stark in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting there. Yeah, he puts the Medal of Honor on the inside of the shield.
Yeah.
Out of whatever metals he's got in that warehouse. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think he says there again, "I am Captain America."
And then and you see him. You see these painting it red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like red, white, and blue in the thing, but
yeah,
maybe not quite that when we see it.
Yeah, he's trying to make it like Cap Shield.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
right.
so
what did you guys think?
I thought this was surprisingly slow. I think for what we've seen so far. Yeah,
especially for the way it started.
Yeah, and it is something to say. That sort of you're supposed to have the build up and the climax thing. Now, granted, this is a series and it's happening over the long term, but it did feel a little bit disappointing to get the big action at the beginning and then have basically dialogue for the whole rest of the movie or episode. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd agree, but I also think that proof of bonding between Sam and Bucky was important, and it was a nice way to do it. Because I think is that when Sam decides they can't sell the boat, or is that the next episode and I'm going ahead?
I don't remember. I tell you, this episode...
Either way, it doesn't matter. Because they fix up the boat and then he says, "I can't do it."
This episode almost could have been a sort of season finale leading into something maybe a different show or,
like
or
a
something.
movie, or, yeah.
It felt like it could kind of be over at this point. Like you're winding down from the, again, the John Walker fight was what I expected to be sort of more towards the end, the episode 6, and it just happened and it was over. And now we're on a totally different path.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would think that you could end it here and lead into a movie, which when we get to the next episode, you'd understand why. So stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah.
Paul, what did you think?
I agree. I thought it was weird to have the action at the front end and then the rest of the time just be sort of character building and storytelling. Although important, I think it builds to what happens in the finale, which we'll talk about on a separate episode in a second. But so it was necessary to do, but it was, for a show that's had a ton of action so far, light on the action, right?
Yeah.
Much more heavy on the character stuff. Necessary, right? But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still kind of a really okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, you guys, let us know what you think. Comment down below if you're on YouTube, or like, subscribe, ring a bell, and comment down below what you think, or hit us up on whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Let us know what you think of this episode and what you think of the series so far, because in about 5 seconds, we're going to jump into our technically a few too, if you want to go back to back. We're going to go into our episode 6 and series finale. So that's it. Let us know what you think. And good night, Tony.
Good night, John Walker's good arm.
Good night, Valentino Allegra de Fontaine.
Stay Fontaine.
Stay Fontaine.
That's how you say it on the shrimping boat, damn it.